Hey guys, welcome back. Today we'll be going through advanced English phrases, expressions you could use to stop saying I think, I agree, and I disagree when speaking or writing in English. Guys, if you're preparing for the IELTS exam, for TOEFL, any proficiency exam, if you want to sound more professional in a work setting, if you want to write better emails, if you want to have more intelligent conversations, to better express yourself, all these phrases will be very useful for you to use to mix it up when you're speaking or writing in English. Together in this lesson, we'll go through many new phrases, we'll go through examples to help you remember and use them when speaking, writing, communicating in English. Now, if this is the first time you're here on my YouTube channel, welcome. My name's Adriana from EnglishTeacherAdriana.com. I help English learners improve their English, boost their confidence to finally speak English confidently. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, turn on notifications so that you know you get that bell when I post my next video lesson here to help you improve your English. Now guys, in this lesson there'll be many new phrases, many new expressions, and to help you effectively learn, but most importantly, remember them when communicating in English, I suggest that you use and apply the shadowing technique. So when you hear me say these new phrases, say the example sentences, shadow, copy, imitate me out loud to help you remember and most importantly, use them when speaking in English. Go and find yourself a quiet corner and we'll begin with other ways you can say I think in English. Let's begin with the phrase in my opinion. This is a great formal phrase to be using in formal settings, in written form. Great way to express your thoughts instead of saying I think. For example, in my opinion, I think chocolate is healthy. In my opinion, I believe is also another formal expression you could use to express your thoughts. For example, I believe chocolate is healthy. Now you could also exaggerate this a little bit more, really emphasize that you believe something by adding strongly in front of believe. For example, I strongly believe that chocolate is healthy. I strongly believe that chocolate is healthy. Now if you're not that certain but you think something, instead of saying I think, you could use a phrase I assume. For example, I assume that chocolate is healthy. I'm not 100% certain, so I assume. I assume that chocolate is healthy. Careful with the pronunciation of this one. I know this one's a little bit tricky. It's not assume. No, we don't pronounce the E. I assume chocolate is healthy. Now, a really formal and nice expression you could use in formal settings when you're maybe with colleagues would be, I would say that chocolate is healthy. This is a really great way to express your thoughts instead of just simply saying, I think chocolate's healthy. You know, when I just say that out loud, it sounds so simple, but if I want to be a little bit more sophisticated and to be a little bit more smarter with our friends, could use a phrase, I would say chocolate is quite healthy. I would say chocolate is quite healthy. Now, the phrase I feel is also a great way to express your thoughts. Now, if you'd like to express some thoughts, something that you're thinking, and be a little bit more emotional, I feel is a great way to show that it means something to you, you think this, and you're passionate about this topic. For example, I feel that chocolate is quite healthy for me. I feel that chocolate is quite healthy for me. Again, this is a little bit more formal, great for IELTS, for any proficiency exams. Instead of always saying I think, I feel, great phrase, use it. Now, the phrases I consider and I consider that are also a great way to express your thoughts. I consider that chocolate is healthy, or I don't consider that chocolate is healthy. Now, notice I don't consider the negative form, I consider the positive form. Great phrases to be using again in formal settings. If you're applying, if you're taking a speaking test, great phrases, use them instead of saying always I think. I consider that chocolate is quite healthy for me. Now, the phrase I guess. This is a really great phrase to be using in conversational settings, so with friends, with families, in more informal situations. It's a great way to express that you think something. For example, yeah, I guess that chocolate is healthy. Or I guess that maybe I shouldn't eat that much chocolate. I guess, great phrase, use it in conversational settings. Now, the phrases in my point of view and from my point of view, I hear a lot of English learners using these phrases. These two phrases are great formal ways to express your thoughts in English. Sometimes I feel that they're a little bit overused, but if you're using them, it's fantastic, especially in essays. Instead of saying I think, you could use in my point of view, from my point of view, but there are other phrases we have gone through in this video lesson. I'm pretty sure that a lot of you use these these phrases when you are writing or speaking in English. I would like to highlight that sometimes in conversational settings, it's strange when someone says, from my point of view, I think chocolate is bad. It's not really conversational. I consider, I feel a little bit more better in a conversational setting, but in my point of view and from my point of view, they're great to be using in the IELTS writing test, in any written exam. Use them in written form, but be conscious that in spoken form, it's really formal. Now the phrase, if you ask me, is also a great way to express your thoughts. For example, if you ask me, chocolate's quite healthy. Great way to express your thoughts. If you ask me, I think soccer is a great sport. If you ask me, it's great to do some physical exercise. Also, the phrase to me is very similar to if you ask me. For example, to me, it's great to be doing physical exercise every day. Or to me, chocolate is fantastic. It's healthy. To me, great phrase, use it in conversational settings. In written form, try to avoid it. It is a little bit too direct. There are more formal expressions we've gone through in this video lessons for you to be using in written form. Now, if somebody's asking you about your thoughts, maybe on a topic, on a situation, on a problem, a great phrase you can use could be, as far as I can tell. Now, as far as I can tell is great to be expressing your thoughts on that matter, especially in a conversational setting. Maybe you're in a meeting, you're talking about something, and your boss asks you, hey, what are your thoughts on this project? Do you think we should do X, Y, or Z? And instead of saying, I think we should, you could use a phrase, as far as I can tell, this needs to be done. As far as I can tell, this needs to be done. See how it's a lot more formal, and you're also expressing your thoughts in a nice manner. Now guys, if you're loving this lesson, make sure to let me know by smashing that like button. Also, if you'd like more video lessons like this, remember to subscribe and turn on notifications so that you get the next lesson that I post here on my YouTube channel. Okay, but let's continue with the next phrase. Now the phrases in my mind and to my mind are also great to be using in a conversational setting. So if your friend asks you, what do you think about eating chocolate every day? You could use a phrase, answer them saying, in my mind, I don't think it's that good. In my mind, I don't think it's that good. I don't recommend using this so often in written formal communication. It's better to be used in spoken form. Now the phrase, it's my view, is also a great phrase to be expressing your perspective and your thoughts. It's my view is very formal, great to be using in written form. If you're speaking maybe with your boss in a professional setting, it's my view that chocolate isn't healthy. Or it's my view that chocolate's really healthy. Again, really formal phrase. It sounds strange when I hear people using this in a conversational setting, but if you do use it in a conversational setting, please make sure that it is a formal setting with someone that you have a formal relationship with. Now, if you're in a formal setting and you'd like to express your thoughts, a great phrase you could use to do this is, as far as I'm concerned. I use this phrase a lot in conversational settings, in formal situations. I love it. I'm a fan of it. For example, as far as I'm concerned, chocolate is really healthy. As far as I'm concerned, chocolate is really healthy. Now, if I really strongly believe that chocolate is healthy, and I can't change my mind on that, and you're not going to change my mind on that, a nice formal way I could express this could be, it's my belief. It's my belief that chocolate is healthy. It's my belief that chocolate is healthy. Now, in a formal setting where you'd like to give your thoughts and ideas about a project, an idea, or a topic, you could use the phrase, the way I see things, or the way I see it, the way I see things, or the way I see it. Great phrase, great formal expression to be using to express your thoughts. For example, the way I see it, it's really healthy. The way I see it, it's really healthy. Now the phrases it seems to me, and it's my view, are very formal phrases you could use in written correspondence, in email correspondence. A little bit strange again to be using them in spoken form. Doesn't mean that you cannot use them. If you feel that these phrases fit your style, use them. You're free to use them in spoken English, but I like to use these two phrases in a written setting in email correspondence. For example, it seems to me that you haven't considered the possibility that chocolate is healthy, or it's my view that chocolate is healthy. Now the phrase, I honestly believe that, is a great phrase to be using in a conversational setting, also in email correspondence. For example, I honestly believe that chocolate has health benefits. Great phrase, use this one quite often. I honestly believe that. The phrase "as I see it" is another phrase which is great to be using in a conversational setting. Perfect for IELTS speaking section, for any proficiency exam, and just in everyday conversations. For example, as I see it, there are no problems with consuming chocolate. As I see it, there are no problems to consuming chocolate. Now the phrase "it seems to me that" is a great phrase to be using in professional settings. Great to be using with your boss, in formal settings. For example, "it seems to me that you haven't considered the thought that chocolate may be healthy." Again, "it seems to me that you haven't considered the thought of chocolate being healthy." Fantastic! So now you know many other phrases and expressions you could use instead of saying "I think," but what about the phrase "I agree"? Now, if you agree with somebody, there are other phrases you could use, and let's go through them together now. Now, the first phrase is a great, polite conversational phrase you could use instead of "I agree." The phrase is, "You took the words right out of my mouth." You took the words right out of my mouth. So here, instead of saying just "I agree," you're expressing that, hey, I wouldn't say that, and you stole my thoughts. So for example, you told me maybe the chocolate isn't healthy. Actually, a lot of you did tell me that after my video where I taught you other ways of saying "I think." If you haven't watched that, make sure to check it here. In this video, we'll be focusing on that chocolate isn't healthy as our example sentence. Instead of me just saying to you, hey, yeah, I agree, here I could use the phrase, "You took the words right out of my mouth" to express my agreement. Again, pronunciation, "You took the words right out of my mouth." Right out of my mouth. Connected speech, right out of my mouth. Another really polite, great phrase to be using in conversational settings could be using the phrase, "I couldn't have said it better." I couldn't have said it better. So for example, you told me, "Adriana, chocolate isn't healthy. There are better alternatives." And I really agree with you. I love how you structured your thought, how you expressed yourself. Instead of just saying, "I agree," "I couldn't have said it better" is a great way to say, to express that you agree with that person. Again, pronunciation, "I couldn't have said it better." I couldn't have said it better. But if you really agree with a person, like really, really agree with that person, then you could use the phrase, "I couldn't agree with you more." I couldn't agree with you more. For example, chocolate isn't healthy. Yes, I couldn't agree with you more. Now, a less formal way, still polite, but a little less formal way of expressing this could also be using the phrase, "You've hit the nail on the head." You've hit the nail on the head. So think of a nail and a hammer, and when you're banging it down, the nail goes down. There's nowhere else for it to move. And here, think of this nail. You agree with that person, exactly that's what they've said. Here, instead of just saying, "Yeah, I agree," this expresses in a strong way that you really, really agree. Again, pronunciation, "You've hit the nail on the head." You've hit the nail on the head. But if you told me that, "Hey, Adriana, chocolate isn't healthy," and I wanted to be really, really formal, want to be really formal, a little bit posh, then here I could use the phrase, "Our thoughts are parallel." Our thoughts are parallel. Please note that this phrase is very formal. I don't use it quite often. Some English speakers do. If you like this phrase, if you want to be really formal, go ahead and use it. Again, pronunciation, "Our thoughts are parallel." Our thoughts are parallel. Another similar phrase, also very formal and very polite, is the phrase, "We are in agreement." We are in agreement. So for example, maybe your board is deciding the fact whether chocolate is healthy, everybody agrees. So saying, "Yeah, we all agree." We are in agreement expresses in a formal way that you agree. Again, pronunciation, "We are in agreement." We are in agreement. But an informal way, great to be using in conversational settings with friends and family, is the phrase, "We are on the same page." We are on the same page. Here, this expresses that you both agree, think the same. Instead of saying, "Yeah, I agree, we're on the same page," we share the same thoughts. Again, pronunciation, "We are on the same page." We are on the same page. But in conversations with friends and family, if they tell you, "Hey, chocolate isn't healthy," you're not going to sit there and just say, "Yeah, I agree," especially not with friends. Instead of saying, "I agree," a great phrase to be using in this situation is the phrase, "You can say that again." You can say that again. Here, this phrase expresses that you agree, say that again. Here, you're not telling them to literally say that phrase or say their statement again. It's a great phrase to be saying in conversational settings that you agree with them. Again, pronunciation, "You can say that again." You can say that again. Notice how my voice goes up, intonation. You can say that again. Or a less formal phrase is, you got that straight. You got that straight. I personally don't use this quite often, but I do hear it in a lot of TV shows and movies. You got that straight. Great phrase to be using with friends and families to say that, hey, I agree. You got that straight. You got that straight. Also very similar to you got that straight is a phrase, you got that right. You got that right. Again, great to be using in informal settings with friends and family. Again, pronunciation, you got that right. You got that right. Now, other phrases you could use, still less formal, but a little bit more formal than the last two phrases, could be using with friends, family, even with co-workers. Other phrases, my thoughts exactly. My thoughts exactly. Great phrase to be using to express your agreement. For example, chocolate isn't healthy. You told me this. I say, my thoughts exactly. Here expressing that, yeah, I agree with you. Again, pronunciation, my thoughts exactly. My thoughts exactly. Or we are of one mind. We are of one mind. Here, this phrase is great to be using when somebody tells you, for example, tell me chocolate isn't healthy. I agree with you. And then we think the same. So instead of saying, hey, we think the same, I agree, we are of one mind. We are of one mind. The phrase, that's just what I was thinking. That's just what I was thinking. So here, if you agree, if you think that chocolate isn't healthy, that's just what I was thinking. Great phrase to be using instead of I agree. Careful pronunciation, that's just what I was thinking. That's just what I was thinking. But a little bit more formal and a politer way of expressing this could be using the phrase, that's exactly how I feel. That's exactly how I feel. It's very polite, great to be using with friends, family, even with co-workers. That's exactly how I feel. Chocolate isn't healthy. Or the phrase, I had the same idea. I had the same idea. For example, I had the same idea. Chocolate isn't healthy. Again, pronunciation, I had the same idea. Careful, not idea, idea. Idea. I had the same idea. Now, of course, you don't always need to be using long statements to express your agreement in English. There are shorter phrases you can use, and you should actually be using with friends and family. Some of those being, of course. For example, of course, chocolate isn't healthy. Or, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. For example, you're absolutely right. Chocolate isn't healthy. You may also hear many native English speakers using so. I do this. For example, you're so right. You're so right. Chocolate isn't healthy. Also notice how we exaggerate the so. You're so right. You're so right. But in the situation that you agree with somebody, but maybe you're not happy that you agree with them. So for example, I personally love chocolate. And for the sake of this video lesson, I'm saying that it's not healthy. And if I'm just going to say, okay, I agree, but with a negative tone, instead of just using a negative tone and saying, I agree, I could use a phrase, I guess so. I guess so. Now this phrase, I guess so, it again means, yeah, I agree, I think. But many English speakers, and I use this phrase to agree with something, but really, I'm not that happy to be agreeing with that. A good example is this example, I guess chocolate isn't healthy. So I guess so, or I guess chocolate isn't healthy. You could also just use the words affirmative. Affirmative, chocolate isn't healthy. Affirmative, chocolate isn't healthy. This is very formal. Some English speakers use it. It's okay to be using it in a work setting, but this is very posh, very polite, and very formal. This formal word you could use is definitely. Definitely, definitely, chocolate isn't healthy. Or you got it. You got it. Chocolate isn't healthy. Borderline slang. A lot of teens using this. You'll hear this in TV shows. You got it. Chocolate isn't healthy. Very similar to you got it is that's right. That's right. Chocolate isn't healthy. That's right. Chocolate isn't healthy. Careful with the pronunciation. It's not a right. Don't roll the R. Right. That's right. That's right. Now, if you really agree with somebody, you could simply use a phrase, word, amen. Amen. Now, if you're familiar with this word, if you pray, usually we say this word at the end of a prayer, amen. But even in spoken situations, if you really agree with somebody, you could just say, amen. Amen to that. And also, of course, the words yep and sure, great words to be expressing your agreement. For example, yep, chocolate's healthy, or sure, chocolate's healthy. Fantastic. Now you know many other ways to agree with people, but what about in a situation that you don't agree with them, that you disagree? Let's go through other phrases you could use instead of always saying, I disagree. Now the first phrase, to some extent I agree with you, but this is a great phrase to be a little bit politically correct, to acknowledge a person's point of view, but to disagree with them. For example, if you told me chocolate isn't healthy, but I disagree with you, but I'd like to acknowledge your point of view. So I could use a phrase, to some extent I agree with you, but there are some vitamins in chocolate which are really healthy. Again, pronunciation, to some extent I agree with you, but to some extent, I agree with you, but... Now that phrase was very formal, but if I didn't want to be so formal with my reply, then I could have used the phrase, me too, but. For example, if you told me I don't think chocolate is healthy, I could reply saying, me too, but there are some useful vitamins found in chocolate. Careful pronunciation, me too, but. Me too, but. But if I strongly disagree with your opinion, but I wanted to be nice about it, polite about it, then I could use a phrase, I'm afraid I don't agree. Now here, just by adding I'm afraid to I don't agree, this makes it a lot nicer. So you're sort of apologizing for your perspective, but not really. It just makes it a lot more politer. For example, I'm afraid I don't agree that chocolate isn't healthy. Again, pronunciation, I'm afraid I don't agree that chocolate isn't healthy. Now, if somebody's told you something, but you don't disagree 100%, maybe you disagree 90%, then you could use a phrase, that's partially true, but. That's partially true, but. So here there is some truth to what they're saying, but for some reason you still disagree with their opinion. For example, that's partly true that chocolate isn't healthy, but there are some healthy vitamins found in chocolate. Again, pronunciation, that's partly true, but. That's partly true, but. Also the phrase, I see your point, but. Great, polite phrase to be using in conversational settings. For example, I see your point, but there are some healthy vitamins found in chocolate. Again, pronunciation, I see your point, but. I see your point, but. Now the previous phrases were very polite, but a more conversational phrase, still polite phrase, is a phrase, yes, okay, but perhaps. For example, you told me chocolate isn't healthy, and I said, yes, okay, but perhaps there are some healthy vitamins found in chocolate. Careful pronunciation, yes, okay, but perhaps. Yes, okay, but perhaps. But if I really don't want to agree with your opinion, for example, you told me, Adriana, chocolate isn't healthy, then I could use a phrase, well, you could be right, but there are still some healthy vitamins. Yeah, well, but yeah, you could be right. This is a really conversational phrase. You'll hear this used in a lot of TV shows and movies. I use this phrase quite often when somebody is stating all the facts. I can see that they're clear, but I still want to disagree with them. Careful pronunciation, well, you could be right. Well, you could be right. But if you want to be really blunt and really direct, then you could use a phrase, I don't think so. For example, you told me, Adriana, chocolate isn't healthy. And we're like, no, I don't think so. Chocolate is really healthy. Careful pronunciation, I don't think so. Think. I don't think so. But there is a politer, a very proper way of expressing this, and it is still very direct. And that phrase is, I beg to differ. I beg to differ. For example, I beg to differ. Chocolate is very healthy. Again, pronunciation, I beg to differ. I beg to differ. Please note with this phrase, I don't use this quite often, but if you do find yourself in a very polite, in a very proper conversation, I beg to differ is a great phrase to be using. Now, a more conversational phrase, great to be using with friends and family, is a phrase, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that. For example, you told me, Adriana, chocolate isn't healthy. Like, I'm not sure about that. I'm sure there are some healthy vitamins. Careful pronunciation, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that. But a politer and a more formal way of expressing this, great to be using in conversational settings at work, is a phrase, that's not how I see it. That's not how I see it. For example, you told me chocolate isn't healthy. That's not how I see it. There are some healthy vitamins found in chocolate. Again, pronunciation, that's not how I see it. That's not how I see it. Or you could simply use a phrase, not necessarily. Not necessarily. It's a great formal, polite expression to be using in conversational settings to say that you disagree. For example, you told me chocolate isn't healthy. Not necessarily. There are some healthy vitamins. Careful pronunciation, not necessarily. not necessarily. Now, if you find yourself in a situation that you completely disagree with a person, then you could use a phrase on the contrary. On the contrary. So for example, you told me, Adriana, it's not healthy to run, should not run. But I completely disagree with you. So I could say this, express this in a very polite, in a very proper way and say, on the contrary, it's very healthy to run on a daily basis. Careful pronunciation, on the contrary. I know this one's going to be tricky, there's so many R's. Not contrary. 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 Now, on the contrary is very direct, but if I want to accept and acknowledge your thoughts a little bit more, then I could use a phrase, I accept what you're saying, but looking back at the example of you telling me that it's not healthy to run, I could express my disagreement by using the phrase, I accept what you're saying, but it is healthy to run a few kilometers a day. Careful pronunciation, I accept what you're saying, but I accept what you're saying, but if there is some truth to what that person is saying, then you could use a phrase, it is only partly true, but. For example, you told me it's not healthy to run, and I know that maybe it's not the best. So I could express this by saying, it's only partly true, but if you don't overdo it, it's okay for you. Careful pronunciation, it's only partly true, but. It's only partly true, but. Now, a shorter way of expressing this is with the phrase, yes, but. For example, yes, but it's always good to be active. Yes, but it's always good to be active. Now, a really informal way of disagreeing with this could be with a phrase, I totally disagree. I totally disagree. Totally is okay to be using in conversational settings, but not in formal settings. For example, I totally disagree with you. Running is fantastic for your health. Again, pronunciation, I totally disagree. I totally disagree. Or simply, no way. No way. This is a great phrase to be using in conversational settings. You'll hear this used a lot in TV shows and movies. For example, no way, it's healthy to run every day. Well done, guys. You've made it to the end of this video lesson. Remember that practice makes perfect. Make sure to watch this video lesson a few times. Use and apply the shadowing technique to help you remember, and most importantly, use these phrases when speaking, writing, communicating in English. Let's take it one step further now by completing a homework task together. Watch this video lesson for a third time, choose 5 new phrases, and use them in a sentence in the comments below this video. Remember guys, if you found this video lesson useful, please do let me know by smashing that like button. Like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Turn on notifications so that you know, get that bell when I post my next video lesson here to help you improve your English. Continue learning with me by downloading my free audio guide where I share with you exactly what you need to be doing every single day to drastically improve your confidence speaking in English. You'll find the link to download my audio guide in the description below this video. Thank you guys for watching, thank you for being here, and I look forward to seeing you in my next lesson. Bye for now.